This is a story of lace, lies and power, the gospel according to Nkechi. In the heart of Ogboko, a town so quiet even the crickets whispered, lived Nkechi Ugonna, a woman so shy, she apologized when the wind blew her wrapper. Her voice was softer than a church mouse on fasting day, and her dreams were folded neatly beside her kerosene stove. She was married to barrister Chuka Ugonna, a lawyer whose practice was so dry, even termites refused to eat his case files. His office was a one-room shack squeezed between Mama Ifeomo's pepper stall and a tailor who hadn't sewn a straight line since Abuja was in power. Chuka was brilliant, no doubt. He could quote the Constitution backwards and argue with a wall until it apologized. But brilliance in Nigeria without connection is like a goat in a swimming pool, confused and going nowhere. Nkechi supported him with quiet devotion, cooking with firewood, praying with fire, and wearing wrappers that had survived more elections than the local councillor. Then came the call. One rainy Tuesday, Chuka's old classmate, now a senator with a stomach that deserved its own zip code, summoned him to Abuja. The president needs a loyal man, he said, swirling his whiskey like it owed him rent. Someone who won't ask questions. You're perfect. And just like that, Chuka became Minister of Urban Development and Strategic Mismanagement, though the official title was more polite. Nkechi's transformation was immediate. She traded her wrappers for imported lace, her silence for speeches, and her humility for hubris. They moved into a mansion in Asokoro, where the walls were whiter than her conscience and the servants bowed like they owed her money. She became Madam Nkechi, First Lady of the Ministry. Her Instagram page, once dormant, now glowed with filtered photos captioned, "God did it," though God was never tagged. She began hosting luncheons where the jollof rice came with gold-plated spoons and the gossip was served hotter than the pepper soup. Her rivalry with Her Excellency, Mrs. Jumok Baligan, the governor's wife, became a full-blown fashion war. Jumok was known for her designer handbags, frozen smile, and ability to insult without using words. Nkechi responded with louder lace, longer convoys, and speeches that sounded like motivational sermons dipped in ego. At one gala, Nkechi arrived in a convoy longer than a wedding procession, wearing a gele so high it needed scaffolding. "Madam Minister," someone whispered, "your gele is taller than the national debt." She smiled. "Let it match my influence." She gave speeches at women's conferences, declaring, "I am not just a wife. I am a vision. A destiny. A divine interruption." The crowd clapped. Mostly out of fear. Behind the lace and laughter, Nkechi ruled her ministry like a queen in a palace of paranoia. She thrived on rumor. Her inner circle was a coven of whisperers, stylists, protocol officers, and one particularly venomous secretary named Ngozi Gossip, who knew more about Abuja's elite than the EFCC. Promotions were handed out not for competence, but for the ability to deliver juicy scandal. If you could tell her who slept with whom, who owed who, and who cried at a party, you were guaranteed a raise. One staff member, Bola the Bold, dared to question a shady contract. Nkechi leaned into Chuka that night and whispered, "That girl is too brave. Sack her before she infects the others." Bola was transferred to a desk in the basement, next to the generator. She would host charity events for widows, handing out rice with her face printed on the bags. She'd hug market women with one eye on the camera and the other on her handbag. Back in Ogboko, she built a borehole and named it the Nkechi Ugonna Water of Destiny. She donated plastic chairs to the church and insisted her name be engraved on each one. "I have not forgotten my roots," she'd say, standing beside a banner of herself. "I am still the same Nkechi who fetched water from the stream." The villagers clapped. The stream, now dry, remained unimpressed. Nkechi's hunger for power was born from years of invisibility. In Ogboko, she was the girl who blended into the background, the woman who served quietly while others took the credit. Power gave her voice, visibility, and vengeance. She didn't just want to rise, she wanted to tower. She wanted every woman who once mocked her rappers to choke on her lace. But Abuja is a city where loyalty expires faster than gala in the sun. Chuka, now bloated with bribes and belly, was caught in a scandal involving land allocations, ghost contractors, and a mysterious estate in Dubai registered under the name Mr. CQ Goat. EFCC came knocking, not with courtesy, but with cuffs. The mansion was raided. The servants scattered. Nkechi's Instagram caption stopped mid-prayer. She tried to rally her influence, calling pastors, party chairman, and even her tailor. But power, once lost, is harder to reclaim than a borrowed rapper. Her rivals rejoiced. Mrs. Balogun posted a cryptic tweet. Some lace is better left in the village. Nkechi returned to Ogboko, where the only flashing lights were from fireflies and the only people bowing were children playing police and thief. She sat on a plastic chair outside her father's compound, watching the sun set like a judgment. A neighbor approached. "Madam Minister, welcome home." She sighed. "Power is sweet, but it doesn't come with a refund policy." The neighbor replied, "Next time, try humility. It's cheaper and lasts longer." In the end, Nkechi taught young girls in Ogboko how to sew, her gele now modest, her voice steady. Her story became a cautionary tale, like something out of Basie and Company, a look back at Nigeria's iconic sitcom, funny, tragic, and deeply Nigerian. Because in this land of lace and lies, power is like pepper, sweet in soup, but dangerous in the eye. And Abuja never forgets. It just waits for the next Madam Minister. If you've ever seen lace cover pride, or watched power turn a whisper into a roar, share this story. Let Nkechi's rise and fall remind us that humility isn't weakness, and gossip isn't governance. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's the real villain here, power, pride, or the silence of those who knew better? Subscribe for more stories that blend satire, truth, and the sweet sting of reality. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that life never forgets, and neither should we.